look over here. You see that? That's Hollywood Corner. That is the center point of everybody's directions out here in the Moore Norman area. You ask somebody, you say, hey, how do you get to so-and-so? And you go, well, you know where Hollywood Corner is? You start there and you go 4 miles or 3 miles or north or 2 miles south or 5 miles west or whatever. It was an old roadhouse in honky tonk. People like Bob Wills, Ray Price, Ernest Tubb would swing through and play outdoor dances. Today it's a bait shop. You get minnows to fish with. You can get bait, tackle, gas.
It's a farm store that our grandparents could give directions from, that our parents could give directions from. There's a sameness to us from our environment, what we grew up with.
The land run of '89, a bunch of free Indian land was going to be opened up to settlers. I hope I get the story right, or my Okie brothers and sisters would be mad, but anyway, it was like a shotgun start kind of thing. Everybody would have to wait till daylight. At shotgun start, you'd race across the state, and wherever you could get to and stake out was yours, and it was free land. And some of the people went under the rope the night before and went in and had their places staked out, were waiting by the time the contestants all got in, and they call them Sooners because they got there sooner. Some people call them renegades, some people call them cheaters. I call them resourceful.
Oklahoma was settled by people that were outlawish, you know, looking for a future in a place that was probably a little bleaker than they thought it was going to be, but yet they persevered. Turned this state into something from what was perceived to be nothing. So consequently, what you have is a people that are hardy, hardworking, willing to meet any challenge. Everybody in this state has a little piece of that that's been passed down generationally through the stories with grandparents and great-grandparents.
My dad's granddad and his grandmother were married in Limestone County, Alabama, and then they moved their family up to Oklahoma during that land run. They were broom corn farmers. Everything's synthetic today, but everything was broom straw then, and so they bundled that up, put it on the end of a stick. You'd sweep your house with that. Was called broom corn. People that cut that were called broom corn Johnnies. Real rough, you know, terrible trade. My dad had one sister. She married a guy from Louisiana, and Uncle John was in the oil field and was doing well, better than the broom corn guys, I guess. As far as I know, my dad started working on rigs with him, and then my granddad later in his life ended up in the oil field with him.
While he was working in the oil field, he would move from different towns or different states. And HK came to Arkansas, married me, brought me back, and then we had 3 little kids born in Oklahoma.
I was the first one born. I was born in Clinton, Oklahoma. Mom drove herself into the hospital. Dad was out on a rig.
Before he was a year old, we moved like 11 or 12 times. HK made his living in the oil field. He was a roughneck back then, and you might go into a town and rig up. You might be in that town 30 days, and you might move on to another town.
Up till first grade, we'd lived in a different town every 6 or 8 months. Just pick up and move, get a rent house, live there. The rig, they'd load the rig out, stack it out, stick it on trucks, move it to another area. Everybody followed the rig.
When Toby started into grade school, the first grade, then I quit moving. And HK had to keep moving and coming home when he could. But we felt like the kids needed to be in the same situation and surroundings. We finally got to come to Moore, Oklahoma. Moore America, as HK used to call it. His job brought him back to Oklahoma City. But Oklahoma City being a big, huge town, he decided he would like to live in one of the suburbs.
Moore wasn't that big at the time, just a little spot on the highway.
It wasn't unusual to see a kid on his bike with a fishing pole heading for a pond or a creek or, you know, Mr. Jones' pasture.
Toby used to live across the street right over here in this red brick home.
We were happy there. The kids played Little League ball, and they had their little dog Gordy there, and HK was still in the oil field. There were times back in the roughneck days he would be gone 2 or 3 months.
He would go and it'd be snowing and blowing and cold and, you know, nothing to stop a snowflake in the wind but a barbed wire fence. And Mom would hand him his lunch and push him outside and say, "Get in here, Spot, it's too cold for you out there." Let the dog in, push him out.
I never bothered HK. He had to go and make the living, and I always knew that. If Christmas came and he didn't get to be there, I never looked at it, or the kids never looked at it. Poor us, you know, Daddy's not home. We always looked at it, hey, it's harder on Dad to be away from us. At least we've got each other.
We never did want for anything, and Dad being gone was just so normal that I never did miss it, I don't think.
Little Toby was a happy kid. He loved everybody. He never had to be entertained. He was always coming up with new things to do.
Back in 4th grade, I won a poster contest for an anti-smoking campaign. I drew a cigarette with a hat and guns and a mask, and his name was Johnny Smoke. And he was gonna kill you, man. In 6th grade, every other Friday, we had creative writing. And it didn't matter how much you did as long as you did something of your own creation. All the girls would take their time and do it right, obviously, or most of them would. And the boys would just do something down, because as soon as you were done, you were free to just go to the back of the room and goof off. And I remember just going page after page. I'd get on the story and just keep going. So I was very creative. And then my grandmother bought me a guitar. And then having my dad, original quipster that he was, being like Will Rogers, and my mom being able to sing like Patsy Cline, it all just meshed into what ended up becoming.
I remember him walking down the halls at school because he was a presence. He was so big.
But I mean, he wasn't threatening in any way. You know, he was Toby. You know, hey, how y'all doing?
I don't think Toby got in a lot of trouble growing up. Now, I do know from talking with Toby that, you know, in his adolescent years that he became quite a scrapper, but I think that's not unusual around here. I don't know, not a single guy I ever grew up with that couldn't use his hands. Some better than others. You can tell by the black eyes at the end of it.
The school bully, when I got to 7th grade, stole a ring at a party. He said that I was going to cop to it and say that I stole it. And I said, no, I didn't steal the ring. And so he said, well, you're going to say you did, or I'm going to beat the hell out of you Monday at school. And I just hung up on him, wouldn't talk to him. Well, my dad got home Friday night. He answered the phone, talked to the guys. You're gonna do what? Well, you ain't whipped him yet. Well, we'll find out Monday, won't we? And I'm going, Dad, you're multiplying this whipping that I'm gonna have to deal with, you know? And I was big and could fight too, but I didn't fight all the time. And his experience was just scary.
HK set Toby down and he said, son, you may get whipped, but if you don't fight him, you're gonna have to run the rest of your life from him.
So I didn't sleep all that weekend. I was worried. My dad got up nonchalant Monday morning, went to work like it was no big deal, didn't come in and give me no pep talk or nothing. And I didn't know what I was gonna do. The bus pulled in. He hid down beside the bus. Everybody got off, and as soon as I stepped off, he just sucker punched me. And it didn't knock me off my feet. And I thought, man, if that's his best shot, he got a clean blow in on me. And I didn't get nothing. I didn't get a chipped tooth. I got a little bit of a black eye, and the fight was on, man. When it was over, there was only one cat left standing. The principal came out there and broke it up, and took us in the office, and said, call your dad. And he came in. They said, well, he's kicked out of school for 3 days. Dad said, well, I'll have you a 3-day vacation. He didn't say, I'm proud of you, nothing. He just took me in the car, took me home, dropped me off, said, I gotta get back to work. And that's just the way he was raised. It was that simple with him. And
I think that let Toby know right then that he could always believe in himself and he could do anything he wanted to do if he wanted to do it hard enough.
I was hard to deal with after that.
Yeah, we did it our way. Looking back on the good days, there's still not a lot I regret. Hey, there's some nights I can't remember. Friends I'll never forget.
Toby is off when he's not touring. If he is at home, he's either watching or going to an OU football game or going to an OU basketball game. Toby loved the OU Sooners even when he was a small child. He loved them so much that he went to work for them selling Cokes.
I sold Cokes at one field when I was 12 years old. I think you had to be 14 or 15 to get a job there, but I was so oversized that I could get a job.
The reason we sold hot dogs or sold Cokes or whatever was because we couldn't afford to get in the game. And the way it's built, you can't just like walk up to the fence and look over or anything like that. So you had to find a way to get in the game. If you got a job selling Cokes or hot dogs at Oklahoma, you were somebody. Everybody's like, wow, how'd you get that job? And you're like, you just got to know somebody.
I would sell Cokes first half. It'd be 50-0 usually. Oh, you'd be killing somebody. Fans would dump out and go over to drink beer across the street, and I would find me a seat and not sell Cokes, but it's my free ticket in the games.
It's Dodd to Sandifer to Joe Rector for a touchdown.
And he is going to go the distance. Right up, and the national championship with certainty now belongs to Coach Switzer and his Sooners.
Why Oklahoma football is important to the people of Oklahoma is because they have nothing else. We don't have the distractions you have in a lot of other places. We don't have professional sports, football, basketball, baseball.
The children are brought up at a young age knowing that you root for Oklahoma and that it's special.
It's what we do around here. I've gone to games forever, so I'm very loyal to my team, and that's it. I don't have other teams. I don't have part two.
Toby's blood runs crimson and cream.
One of the perks to where he is now is he even got to play in a game at OU, a red-white game.
Hopefully I'm going to hit somebody real hard, make them mad, and then yell I'm a country singer and head for the bus. I need one good play.
He was dressed out and he's going to play an alumni game, and I told Toby, don't go out there. You're not an alumnus. We can't cover you with our medical liability. And he said, Coach, I'm not going to get hurt. And I said, okay.
So I did get out there. I got rolled up on from behind, broken ankle. I had a plate, 6 pins put in my ankle.
It happens, man. It was the last play of the game, you know. There goes the show in Tulsa tonight, huh?
He's got a concert in Tulsa that night. He's got to cancel. And I said, I told you.
And we'd never missed a show the whole time I was with him. So I think he got his taste of OU football then.
What some would consider to be the stupidest thing I ever did, but I got to wear the crimson and cream. I got to wear the helmet. I got to suit up. I got to hit. I got to collide. So I'd absolutely do it again, same results.
Some of the things that Toby enjoyed doing as he was growing up as a kid, he loved all sports.
We'd get home from school and we'd get sports going. Football, we'd use 2 or 3 yards, played tackle. Couldn't tackle on the driveway though. Once you got out in the grass, you was fair game then.
Still can't get the grass to grow like it was supposed to. It's not thick. I think it's because it was trampled for so many years because the boys always played in our yard.
Football goes way back early grade school. We played for a boys club. After 3rd grade, everybody played for your own school. I was one of the only 5th graders that got to play up on that 6th and 7th grade team, and I played there 3 years, and it was probably my favorite time to ever play football. By the time I got to high school, I was on my 10th year of football.
There was a few guys that didn't play football for some reason, and Toby was one of those guys.
Toby didn't play football in high school because he wasn't one of the rich elite families.
A lot of guys that went to our school that his fathers were on school boards and stuff at different levels. So a lot of politics went on, and I had trucks and rodeo and all that stuff. And for the first time in my life, I, pretty much was laying out of football.
I lived on 12th Street. We all lived on 12th Street. If you weren't on 12th Street, you were nobody.
You didn't have to wonder where your kids were. If you needed them, you could go to 12th Street and you could find them.
Dragging 12th Street was a thing, and it was a great drag. It was packed. It would take you 30, 40 minutes to make the 2 or 3 mile loop because it was just so many kids on it. It was a world famous trip. I mean, you could be like at Six Flags over Texas on your vacation, run into somebody that's, where you from? Said from Moore. Oh man, 12th Street, I was up there visiting my cousin. That's the best drag in the world.
Moore was known for fast cars, plain and simple. They would rev their engine, you'd rev your engine, and if no one was in front of you, maybe that 100-yard area, we'd find out who was the fastest.
Toby's very first vehicle was a used stick shift oil field pickup. His dad bought it, and I think he paid like $600 for it. Toby painted it black and put a big white 6-inch pinstripe across the hood. I suppose that may be the first truck he ever had a date in. He was proud of it.
Me and JB and Sonny, we grew up on a buddy plan. Yeah, when we some bad mothers, closer than brothers, had a rockin' little 3-piece band. Yeah, we wrote a lot of songs about women, and we tried to sing pretty for the girls, pushing everything we did to the limit, just living right out on the edge of the world. I recall one summer night at a party, we were sophomores hanging out by the lake. I got off on some wine with a waitress. Sonny had a girlfriend who just couldn't wait. JB hooked up around midnight with that ugly girl from up in the city. He downed every can of beer in a cooler. He's trying to drink that poor thing pretty.
The fast cars and the good-looking cars were trying to, I guess, find the best-looking women.
That's what you did. You picked up girls in your car. If you managed to get somebody that was interested, probably your next big thing was to find somebody that would sell you beer illegally. And if you got all that accomplished, then you headed for the dirt road. And you just listened to music, sat on the trunk, looked at the stars, did what you could get away with, and went home at the end of the night.
All those nights I can remember, friends I'll never forget.
About the time we thought, all right, we get enough songs together, we can go play a show, Toby left town in the oil field.
I saw people get their fingers mashed and pull their glove off, and the skin around the finger was still on the glove, but the bone was there. It's a dangerous, dangerous world.
In Moore High School, there was 3 different groups of people. You had your jocks and your, we call them goat ropers, and then the hoods. Toby came from the goat roper side, I think. He had the hat and the belt buckle, and he was a cowboy, lived out in the country.
The neighbors had a rodeo company, and you can see the light poles over there. They'd buck bulls and have jackpot rodeos. You can see that there's a tree growing up where the horses back into the pen. There's a big evergreen tree in there, so it hadn't been used in a long, long time. But I could come right here, home from school, jump the fence and go to work right there. When these people moved in up here for this rodeo company, there was lots of horses, lots of bulls. He would bring bulls home from the stockyards that looked big and masculine and macho. Straight out of the stockyards, you didn't know whether they would buck or not. And he would flank them up, and we would get on them and ride them. He'd find out through 6 or 7 boys whether his stock could buck, and if I'll tell you what, anything I ever rode, they took right back to stockyards because it wasn't a rodeo bull. There was a bull over here, he was number 61. By the time he was done, the cowboys out on the circuit were calling him Notorious 61. He wasn't a very big bull, and I jumped down on him. He spun and got me off on his hip and slammed me into the ground. I thought it broke every bone in my body. All it did was dislocate my thumb, but it felt like the Jolly Green Giant had grabbed me by my feet and just slapped me on the ground. I mean, it hurt so bad I didn't even want to ride the rest of the night. It was unbelievable, the force. He was a bad boy. He never acted like he was any wiser for it, but I was. My dad would go with his buddies from Lindsay to the horse races, and they owned horses. And so one time I bought him a half interest in their best horse, their new 2-year-old, and the sucker runs off by about 7 lengths and wins real easy. So they had me hooked, and now I have a multi-million-dollar operation.
He has 150 thoroughbred horses.
Our most famous horse is Cactus Ridge. It was an undefeated 2-year-old. He's a knockout.
Broke a lot of records and was on its way to the Breeders' Cup and wound up with a cracked knee, and turned out it didn't get to go.
He's a stud now. He's got the good life.
Toby really cares about what goes on in the state of Oklahoma. He's been involved with several political races and was very involved in a horse racing initiative that essentially saved horse racing in the state of Oklahoma.
We didn't have legalized gambling here. It would defer a lot of the horse trading and the horse racing here to other states.
I fought alongside the governor of the state of Oklahoma to help the horse people and get through some of these hard heads around here that the horse people were worth saving.
He's not only benefited himself in the horse racing business here in Oklahoma, but he's benefited Oklahoma.
It's a blast. It's my hobby, and I'll do it forever.
The house on the acreage that we live at now was the center of where Toby got back into his music. In the den, out at the barn.
My mom don't ever throw anything away, so I think that this is my 7th grade cornet. Yeah, that was from band. I wouldn't even know how to play a note on it today. And I built this in shop class in 8th grade, and this is a great piece of furniture. It's a little hutch. I can't believe it's still here. I haven't seen this thing in years.
This is where he did a lot of his practice, a lot of his auditions for his band members early on.
There's a lot of stuff put in here now. It's more or less just a storage barn. This concrete floor always provided a nice place to set up, so there's been a lot of drum sets set up on here, but we would practice in here. This is the barn. It's kind of just a gardening, mowing, and tool shed, a few storage items now, but which it always was. It just wasn't this cluttered because my dad worked on his cars and tractors and stuff in here, but always had tools and stuff. But we've sat up in here 1,000 times and practiced.
The summer we graduated in '79, I was cruising 12th Street with another friend of mine, and we came up on Toby in a truck. We said, "Hey, man, where you going?" And he said, "Well, I'm going over to a friend's house in these apartments. We're going to go write some songs." And I was like, I perked up because I had a little garage band I played in.
And Yogi said, that's the only thing our band doesn't have. We have players, we have drummers, we have bass players, we have keyboard players, we have guitar players. We don't have a singer or a songwriter. You ought to come jam with us. We jam every Tuesday. So I went over, and here walks in Country Boy to a little Southern rock band.
And he goes, "Hey, y'all ever played country?" And he's like, "Well, no."
They were completely rockers, and they hated, the twangy stuff. It was to the point of even, making fun of it, and I was raised on it. And as soon as I came in, it made it cool. So we started doing like the Eagles in Alabama, Bob Seger intertwined with Haggard and Roger Miller and that type of stuff.
And then all of a sudden it kind of sounded good, and we were thinking, hey, this is all right.
They seen that if we were sitting around with an acoustic guitar and we were singing all these songs, that it was really all just American music. And they changed their tone, and then we went for it.
About the time we thought, all right, we get enough songs together, we can go play a show, Toby left town in the Northfield. And we were like, what do we do now? We don't have a lead singer.
In those years, the oil field was booming and Oklahoma was really hot. If you were in the oil field in any way, you had money.
1980, and I'm making 45, 50, 60,000 a year. 18 years old. I mean, I paid cash for my first new truck.
You needed to bring the wage up because you needed the bodies. We didn't have the bodies in the state to supply. There were people coming from all over the United States to drill here. They could not build hotel rooms fast enough in western Oklahoma to house people. They were living on the sides of highways in tents. Also, they were paying a lot of money because it was very dangerous work.
I seen digits gone. I saw people get their fingers mashed and pull their glove off, and the skin around the finger was still in the glove, but the bone was there. But if you're out there long enough, you're going to see that.
Toby's grandfather worked as a roughneck and had been seriously injured. They didn't expect him to live. And then HK comes along, and he works in the oil field.
My dad broke his leg and was laid up in a cast all the way up to here when I was probably 3 or 4 years old.
When Toby became 17 and a half, and the money looked good in the oil field, and he starts talking about going to work in it, as a mother, I thought, I can't let my kid go, but I knew I had to let my kid go. You just have to believe in God, that God will handle it. And I just had to let him go out there, but it was hard.
I was fortunate not to ever get beat up too bad, you know. You get dinged and still got scars and stuff to show, but it's a dangerous, dangerous world.
The year was probably 1981, 1982, and during the day, Toby would work as a oil caser, and then on the weekends he played music.
We had come out of the garage and had moved into playing local taverns.
Toby was on 24-hour call, and so there'd be times that we would be right in the middle of a set, and he would get a page, and I'd go, hey guys, I'm sorry, but y'all have to take it from here. I've got to be out. And he'd be out 3 and 4 days. Sometimes he'd miss the whole Saturday night.
You know, when you're in the oil field and you're on 24-hour call, you go and stay till the job's done. You come back. If it's a 50-hour job, you're there 50 hours. The most I've ever went without sleep was 77 hours. I was completely delusional. But it's no big deal. You learn to live in that environment. You go, you finish the job, then you rig your tools down, you come home.
We learned at a young age, if you want something, you have to work for it. Toby's parents were that way, and I think that's probably where he got that drive.
His values are intact, and you can say they're of the area or of his family. They're one and the same. His family's of the area. Same values he had the day I started with him. Haven't changed so far, don't expect him to change. He's gonna offer you a fair day's work for a fair day's wage, and that's all you ask for around here.
The economy was just wrecked.
With no rest for the weary, you just move on. Tired. God, I'm tired.
'81, 2, and 3, the oil field was really good. And then when it was over, it was like that. The oil field went from being 1,400 drilling rigs in Oklahoma to 30, like overnight.
It was like a scene from the Wild West. You know, there's gold in them there hills. A town sprung up, gold went away, a town went down.
Boom, houses for sale everywhere, construction, guys out of business. And the economy was just wrecked.
My name is Jackson, I was named after my father. Followed in his footsteps down here to this factory. I ain't complaining, I wouldn't waste my breath to bother. This work ain't hard, it's only boring as can be. Married Rebecca back in '77. I I still love her, and I guess she loves me too. Go to church on Sundays 'cause we wanna go to heaven. Me and my family, ain't that how you're supposed to do? But I'm tired, Lord, I'm tired. Life is wearing me smooth down to the bone, with no rest for the weary, you just move on. I'm tired. Only missed 6 days and now 20 years of working. Money went to taxes and my bills are paid on time. Raise I got 2 months ago don't meet the cost of living. Selling my body for these nickels and these dimes. Smell of Becky's coffee rolled me out of bed this morning. Showered and shaved and dressed and I pulled my work boots on. Walked in the kitchen, she was staring out the window, and the way she said good morning made me ask her something wrong. She said, I'm tired. Woke up tired. Life is wearing me smooth down to the bone, with no rest for the weary, just move on. Yeah, I guess you just keep going until you're gone. Tired. Lord, I'm tired. Tired. God, I'm tired.
When the oil boom went bust, we were limited as the jobs that were available here, because oil was the biggest industry and probably home building was probably the second biggest, and those jobs just weren't available. They ceased.
It was tough. It was one of those things where you had to make some decisions on what you were going to do. Either stay and fight it out and maybe have to do something else, or you get up and go.
So a lot of people would go out of state to go to work.
Lots of people did move out of the state of Oklahoma, but they were mostly people who had moved in here for the boom. They weren't Okies. The Okie state, I couldn't tell you why that is. I guess we just hung in there and toughed it out till times got better.
I had to find something else to do. So I just pooled my resources and looked at them. I thought, you know what? Football's not the answer. I'm playing semi-pro football at the time.
He played semi-pro football here for a team called the Drillers. Played 2 seasons with them and was a defensive end. A real good football player.
Toby would have to go to practices after work. Sometimes he'd play games with no sleep. Sometimes he'd go to work with no sleep. As a ball player, he gave it 110%.
USFL was coming in to be, but I could see USFL was short-lived and we probably weren't going to get in there. So I was playing music on the weekends, and I thought, you know what? We discussed often about, this is always going to be a hobby, or are we going to take this serious? And so I was the deciding factor when the oil field boom busted. It was like, if we're going to do this right, we got to take it on the road because we got to go play regionally and create an audience.
Music was the obvious thing, right? Instead of going, digging ditches or something. But
Well, that's what people didn't understand. The options weren't really there. Jobs were scarce, and you weren't going to starve any more than the neighbor next to you.
It was kind of one of them deals you put your hand in and yell, break. And we made some tapes, put some packages out, promo pack. And we got signed by BGM out of San Antonio, did an indie album with them. They booked us regionally.
He would get like 25–30% of the take, but he'd get us out and about, and we never played in Oklahoma.
There was really nothing left here to play. Small rooms, but you couldn't feed your family out of here, that was for sure.
About the time Trish and I got married, everything just, you know, fell out from underneath us. And then right in the middle of the whole deal, Crystal was born. So Trish would have been kind of like my mom. I was going a lot like my dad was. So Trish, she was that rock back at home. She would get up and have to take the kids to the daycare and then get to her job. She was strong about that, but it took that or I wouldn't have been able to have done what I did.
When you look at Toby, it's hard to think any other way other than Oklahoma's Toby and Toby's Oklahoma.
That's right, a red, white, and blue blood graduate of honky-tonk you.
This community is really good at responding to people that are in need. When the Oklahoma City bombing happened, you know, it was just one big joint effort, and we came through it.
By this time, Toby had the resources that he flew instantly back to Oklahoma City to do whatever he could as far as any kind of relief effort. He put together a little show, whatever he could to raise money.
I think Toby has done things because he can give back to the community, and because of who he is, he can make it very successful.
There's no worth in it unless you give back, and he's going to do that.
I know a lot of people do that just because it looks good on your resume, but he really cares about people. And personally, he's helped me a lot in my own life. I had a daughter that was diagnosed with cancer when she was 2 years old.
She was playing and I noticed a little knot on her belly, and so the next day I took her to her pediatrician, and she decided to have an ultrasound, and within 24 hours we knew that she had tumors on both kidneys and that we were in for a really tough situation. So Allison was really sedated, and she was on morphine, and we were bringing her home, and we pulled into the driveway of our house, and Scott leaned over and he said, "Allie, do you know where we are?" And she opened her eyes. She said, "We're at Allie's house." She was so happy to be home.
When she passed away, Toby said, "I don't know if this is the time or the place, but I want to start a charity to benefit families of children's cancer, and I want to call it Allie's House." A lot of medications that are too expensive for families without insurance, he makes sure through this foundation that they have these meds that they need.
Toby's a very compassionate person. He's compassionate with Allie's House, obviously, but he and his wife are very, very supportive of the community events going on here.
Oklahomans are very resilient, and they, you know, you hear it all the time, but they really come together and help one another when they need the help.
He did all the stuff that, as an Okie, you're supposed to do.
You ready? 2, 3, 1, 4. My grandmother owned a nightclub on the Arkansas-Oklahoma line. Mama put me on a Greyhound and I went to stay with her in the summertime. I'd box up those empty long necks and stack them in the back and make a hand. Many nights she'd let me sneak out of the kitchen, go sit in with the band.
Everybody thinks there's this big mystical reason why I stay here. It's very simple. This is home to me. I'm very comfortable here. I know my way around. I don't have to look at street signs. I know where everything is. I've been in Nashville a lot. Nashville would have been the obvious place to move to, but I still get lost there so easy that it's just not ever going to be home to me.
Nashville's not home. This is home. More is home.
Yes, I have Saxon quarterbacks and broke my share of bones along the way. I knew it wouldn't last forever. Semi-pro always means semi-pay. started climbing, drilling rigs. I'm oil field trash and proud as I can be. Till I took my song and guitar and sang them to a man from Tennessee.
The industry's not here, and it gives him a chance to be probably apart from the industry, so that whenever he goes out to do industry stuff, he is going away from home to do it, and he doesn't bring it back in his home backyard.
I played every beer joint tavern from New York City out to Pasadena. Every corn dog fair and rodeo, and sold out every basketball arena.
We can go to Pittsburgh and sell 26,000 tickets, and there's an urgency to see us. If you don't see me here, just go to an OU basketball game or go to an OU baseball game.
Like to get down with my boys in Afghanistan and Baghdad City too. That's right. Son, I'm a red, white, and blue blood graduate of honky-tonk.
It's coming home. It's no different than with anybody else. You go home for Thanksgiving, you feel warmer at that house with your family and more secure than you do anywhere else. And I don't think that's any different with him.
When you look at Toby Moore in Oklahoma and his raising is what you see, that's what's made him. It's hard to think any other way other than Oklahoma's Toby and Toby's Oklahoma.
That's right, a red, white, and blue blood graduate of honky-tonk you.
Stop, collaborate, and listen. Ice is back with my brand new invention. Something grabs a hold of me tightly, full like a heartbeat, daily and nightly. Will it ever stop? Yo, I don't know. Turn off the lights, and I'll go to the extreme. I rock a mic like a vandal, light up a stage and watch it jump like a candle. I'm just showing the urban boys out there that the country boy can rap a little bit, but Ice ain't the guy you want to rap. Stacked up right there. Those are tomato cages. And they had a contest up in Moore after the fair or something up there. They said, they showed the winning picture of the biggest tomato. And I was in town with my dad, and he said, I've got bigger tomatoes than that at my house. And they said, why didn't you enter one of them in the contest? He goes, because you got to slice mine to get them out of the cage. He was serious about his tomatoes.